Welcome to Smart Company's Thinking Bigger Radio. Get the inside scoop on how America's most successful business owners transform their entrepreneurial vision into reality. And listen in as some of the top business minds in the country serve up practical advice, tips, and insights for growing your business. Now, here's your host, Kelly Scanlon.
Good morning. Welcome to Smart Companies Radio. I'm Kelly Scanlon, publisher of Thinking Bigger Business Media. Our guest today is Jason Schnellbacher. He is the managing partner at Prineta, which is an independent ATM operator and payment solution broker that deploys ATM machines all across the country, and they help their clients with their payment needs. And so we're excited to have Jason here today to talk with us about his entrepreneurial story and how he got started and his keys to success and advice that he can pass on to all of you, our listeners today. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on the 25 Under 25 awards again. We're so excited that all of you, we celebrated all of you last weekend. It was a wonderful celebration. Just anytime we can celebrate small business and put them in the spotlight makes us happy. So congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you. We're very honored to be selected, and we had a good time at the event. And in fact, we're already making plans to attend next year.
Oh, I'm excited to hear that. That's wonderful. All right, let's talk about Prineta and why the judges chose you. I said you were an independent ATM operator and payment solution broker. What do you mean? That word independent is pretty important. What do you mean that you're an independent ATM operator?
Well, basically non-bank really is what that means. So we're not affiliated with one particular bank or another. So think about an ATM machine you might find in a hotel. Usually those don't do enough transactions to justify interest from a bank, and so those kind of machines, they're standalone machines, usually are managed and operated by independents like ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so part of what's unique with our story is that there's plenty of ATM operators out there, but what we did was we were able to scale the model. So how do we go from where we are here in Kansas City to being able to service machines across the country? And so we worked very hard to try to create a model that was scalable, where we could partner with other independent ATM operators across the country and develop this network to the point where now we can truly service nationwide needs. I probably shouldn't name drop it, but I had a really big corporation contact just today, in fact, this morning, at 14,000 locations. And they're looking for one provider that can service all of them, right? And that's just kind of an example where we're able to differentiate ourselves, and part of what makes us unique and why we were selected for the award is the ability to scale and operate on a much larger basis.
Yeah, and you've certainly done that. In fact, you're operating in every major city across the nation pretty much these days. You're in Canada and some other outside of the U.S. and some other locations as well. But what I was really impressed about, too, is not just your saturation nationally, but that, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2015, you had 100 ATMs dispensed, and now in fourth quarter 17, as of fourth quarter 2017, you had more than 1,000?
Yeah, that's right. So that's the difference from being really able to just service what we're doing here in Kansas City to where we were able to grow on a much bigger scale outside of that. And really what we did is we brought on my partner's brother to be part of our team. We later ended up making him a partner, and he was able to really work full time with him. And he brought on his friend, and so we really were dominating online, and we kind of had these partner networks set up, and we were able to really grow. I mean, by a good number of ATMs, really every month. I mean, one month I think we did over 70 new machines in 1 month at the end of last year.
Yeah, so that was in just 2 years that you've had a 100 to 1,000. That's 900 machine growth. That's excellent. What got you interested in this industry? I don't think people wake up one morning and say, "Hey, I want to be an independent ATM guy." What led you to this?
Well, that's actually a pretty good story. So we started kind of in the payments industry, bank card processing, credit card processing, that kind of thing. And we liked the fact that it was a residual type of business. But once we got started, we realized that there's a lot of competition, very low barriers to entry, and everybody had the same wholesale cost. It's called interchange. It's like the interbank settlement rate. And, because of years of competition, the margin compression, it was just difficult to make very much money at that. And one of the partners that we were working with doing processing for, they said, hey, we also do this ATM. You might want to take a look at that. And my partner first brought that to me, and I said, ATMs? I'm like, I don't use ATMs. That can't be a good business. And, isn't everybody going to electronic payments nowadays? And I was kind of skeptical. But one of our clients was a hotel here in Kansas City, and they gave us the opportunity to do the ATM. And we said, well, let's try it out. Maybe it's more so in demand for people from out of town and things. And so we put in the machine over there, and we're really quite surprised at how often it was used. And we did a few more machines, and we were pretty much convinced that this is a good opportunity. It has higher barriers to entry, less competition, and just seemed it works really at the end. The numbers worked out better for us to focus on the ATM machines. We still do payments, but ATMs really represent probably 90% of what we do. Mm-hmm. And it was just really an evolution of where we started in payments originally.
So you pivoted from being strictly a bank card processor to focusing on the ATMs. As you say, they make up 90% of your business now. That's really hard for some businesses to do. They're like, by gosh, I got into this entrepreneurial thing to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to see it through. And they don't pivot, and a lot of times they do find themselves bankrupt or going out of business, whatever, not doing well. You were able to make that adjustment. What did you learn from doing that?
Well, we just kind of learned that, it's important to try many things. We tried, many things with types of marketing that we did or other things, and even some stuff I did in a business prior that really helped us. And once you kind of learn what's working, and then we just kind of more focus our energy and time on what was working better. Honestly, it might sound more complicated than it really was. We were early enough and small enough in our development of the business that it really wasn't a major shift to change. We didn't have a lot of assets tied up and other things, right, that really constricted us from being able to pivot a little bit. But it just seemed that we just found out that the numbers just really worked out better. That's one of my advice to other entrepreneurs out there is you really got to know your numbers. Right? I mean, how do you know if your business is going in the right direction and trajectory and things like this? And when we started looking at the numbers, that's when we realized, well, gosh, this is treating us better over here.
Sure. Yeah, we need to focus our energy right there. Now, you're an independent ATM operator. You fulfill your clients' needs by bringing the ATMs and installing them, and then when you say servicing them, not only servicing them from, I'd say, a mechanical standpoint where if there's a jam or, there's some technical thing that's wrong, you'll come in you'll have somebody come in and fix that. But do you also supply the cash? I mean, what all is involved in that servicing arm of your offering?
Well, there's a couple different models, and kind of what you described would be what we call a full-service placement. It's not eligible for all locations, but for bigger ones that generally have more transactions, we offer that type of full placement option where we provide the machine, we'll install it, and we'll purchase the machine, of course, and then we will load it with the cash and we'll fix it if it ever has a bill jam, or we'll upgrade it when the next EMV standard comes out, or other things like this. And so we pretty much take care of the whole thing. For our clients, it's almost kind of like they're able to outsource that. They don't have to worry about that. We'll take care of all aspects of the machine, and in some cases, we'll even pay them a percentage or a share of the surcharge, almost like a rent or type of thing, in order to have the machine there. But that's not the only model we do. We also will partner with other operators around the country, or if a merchant, a location wants to own their own machine, or they want to load their own machine, we have some flexibility in how we set up the business relationship, and also we'll do processing. So if somebody wants to buy a machine and put it in themselves and load it themselves and all that stuff, we can enable them to do that, but we'll have to set up the processing, which will clear the transactions and make all the banking parts of it work. And so we will have all three models, really depending on what the client needs.
Right. You've been at this since 2009. Do you have any favorite stories as you think back over the, almost 10 years now, as it relates to, late night calls or emergencies or just any other memorable kinds of occasions with the machines?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've had a few, with that kind of time frame. We have a couple pretty big clients that really go through a tremendous amount of cash, and a couple examples at the Kansas City Convention Center here, it's called the Bartle Hall. Some of their events, they really go through a lot of money, and we have to watch those machines very closely. And if there's ever a problem, we got to race down there. And there was a few occasions where we were in the middle of doing other things, and we got an alert that the machine was out and had to drop everything, and be surprised how quickly you can get from Overland Park to Kansas City sometimes downtown.
Yeah.
So there's a few of those, and we've had some good success stories in other parts of the business where we were able to win a big contract, doing a development project. We did terminal application development for a client here in Kansas City that services the airline industry, and we've had a range of good experiences over the years. It's being a business owner, it's always something, right? You know how that goes.
Oh, definitely, yes. Now you have a wide variety of venues where you put your machines, obviously. But what's the biggest part of your business?
We do more hotels than anything else.
Hotels.
So So we find that there's still quite a few hotels, more medium sized than maybe the biggest of the big hotels, but they just don't have a machine, and so we kind of call that low hanging fruit. And so we have a sales department that will market and make outbound calls to offer machines to places that we think would probably be eligible for one, and they just don't. And so by extension, because we focus some our marketing and sales efforts there, we probably have more in the hotel space than anything else. But we do entertainment venues, as well as convenience stores, and even sometimes less well-known places that are just cash only, right? Sometimes their businesses are tired of paying the credit card processing fees, and they say, you know what, I'm just going to stop taking cards and put in a machine. And it may not be that busy of a machine, but if that's the only way to pay, then people end up using that machine.
No, exactly. I mean, I know I go into a nail spa and there's a machine sitting there, and I'm thinking, of all things, why is there a machine in a nail spa? Well, they don't take credit cards. I found that out when it was time to pay. So case in point right there. Talk to us about the acquisitions that you made in 2017 and how those are factoring into your future growth strategy.
Oh, yeah, great question. So, we've really kind of got to a cash flow positive position, and we're very close to being debt free, and we're able to fund growth through cash flow, and that puts us in a position to also be able to expand from acquisition. So in 2017, we actually acquired 3 different we call routes or portfolios of machines. We purchased a group of machines in Corpus Christi, Texas. I think it was around 20 machines or so there, and we actually had a group here in Kansas City as well, more on the Missouri side. We picked up several machines there, and then we did a smaller, it was like maybe 12 or 14 in Columbia, South Carolina. And so people contact us online, really. We have, a page on our site talking about, or we're buying these ATM routes or portfolios. And sometimes people call us and say, hey, would you be interested in this one? And that's kind of what happened. Well, at least the two out of town anyway. And the local one, we had a kind of a relationship already, and they wanted to retire and get out of business, and so that kind of gave us a good opportunity. That's actually kind of a unique part of the story too. Is you think a lot of people that have been in the ATM business, they started in the early days of the business, and they're ready to retire, right? And we're still relatively young, and that kind of gives us some unique opportunities as well, right? With people who are wanting to get out of the business, and we're still wanting to grow and feeling spunky and that kind of stuff. Then that kind of plays nicely into our growth strategy.
Yeah, an acquisition is certainly a very legitimate way to grow it, and it sounds like it's a deliberate strategy that you are following rather than just kind of we'll see if something comes along. So talk to us a bit about your entrepreneurial achievements. I mentioned that you won the 25 Under 25 award. What do you consider your other entrepreneurial achievements in the last 9 years?
Well, two come to mind. The first one really, kind of really helped set the trajectory of my entrepreneurial career is learning search engine optimization. How do you get your website to rank on Google? And that was self-taught, right? I didn't have enough money to pay a big firm to do that for me. I knew some people that did that for professionally, and I enjoyed asking them a lot of questions. I spent many evenings reading online, about blogs and different things about how to do that, and essentially I taught myself how to do that, and that has just been extremely valuable for me and the businesses that I've been a part of. And so I'd say that's a nice achievement, and it very much transcends.
It is. And, coming from somebody who has to do that, I know it's something that is an achievement. Believe me. So. Congratulations.
It's even more, thanks. But it's one of those things that's kind of like continuing education. Okay, so Google changes the algorithm, and they give names to their search engine updates like Panda and different things like this, right? In which case, you have to, kind of evolve. But fortunately, I always use the kind of real basic white hat stuff that never really had too much trouble with those algorithm changes. But yeah, so that's been a big thing because we get the vast majority of our business is inbound organic. When you rank in the first page or in the top section, you're the first result for Google when someone types in ATM company in Kansas City or things like this. It's just wonderful for what it can do for a business.
Oh, it's
how
gold.
A small company
Absolutely.
can compete with giant companies, and so to kind of create some equilibrium in the industry, right? But so that's a big one I would talk about, and also recommend to other listeners that trying to grow their business, that's an investment in time that really pays dividends. Is learning that search engine optimization stuff. And then the other thing is being able to scale the business. So when I first started in a small business, and separate from when I was a kid, trying to mow lawns and things, it was always a local thing. Business was what you did locally, face to face, and in your market, and things like that. And I just always felt limited by that like I need to find a way to scale the business so that it can grow without everything being face to face right here in the town I live in. And so I'm very proud about how we really thought through the process of the customer experience, the onboarding of how we engage with our partners and the whole thing, and how we developed our network. And we were very purposeful in how we did. I call it almost like a machine. Okay, so the ability to scale the business is like building a machine. But once you get the machine built, it can really chug along and get multiple cylinders in there, and it can be really powerful. And
right.
So that I'm really, really proud about how we were able to do that, to kind of grow from just out of the Kansas City market to really being a player on the national scene.
Yeah, well, in addition to increasing your presence nationally and likewise your profits, the other thing that more than likely forced you to do that a lot of entrepreneurs just never are able to do is to make the business non-dependent on you or independent of you, so that at the end of the day, you'll have a saleable business. There are so many businesses that are only able to operate because of their owner. But to scale to the degree that you have scaled, you obviously have created a business model where if something happened to you or whatever, that you've got procedures in place and processes in place that somebody else could step in and the business would survive.
Yeah, completely. And we talked about this the other night just briefly. Is my way of responding is inspired by Rich Dad Poor Dad in the cash flow quadrant, right? I mean, the real definition of the business is that the business isn't just you and what you do, right? That's kind of the definition that Robert Kiyosaki uses when he describes a business owner. And yeah, so that's been the goal really from the very beginning was how to do that. When you have to be able to build a team and have the systems and the processes, to make the machine. And if you have the team and the machine, that's a real business.
Right. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs or even aspiring entrepreneurs, those who haven't necessarily made the leap yet, who are listening?
Well, I got a lot of things I'd offer, but I give you it in the abbreviated version. Is one is start with the business model and the numbers. Sometimes it's easy to think about things we like or we're passionate about, but we're going to make money doing that, right? and to look at how
otherwise
the money
it's a hobby. Yeah.
Exactly. And how's the money made? And for us in particular, it was do I want to work one time and every time I want to get paid I got to work again, or can I find a way where we can make it a little bit more residual or reoccurring in nature, where we can work one time and get paid many times? And that was
right.
Kind of the key focus that led us in the payment industry in the first place. But focus on the business model, and in particular, reoccurring business models are very attractive. They're a lot easier to find success with. The challenge with those is they can take a long time to ramp them up and to make them sustainable, because sometimes you don't make very much on each sale, right? And it takes a good number of clients for that to add up. But focus on the business model and the numbers. Learn search optimization and internet things yourself. It's very difficult to rely on others exclusively. I mean, you can need some help now and then, but the more you can do yourself, the more you can do cost effectively. I think that's a big one. And try different things about what works, what doesn't work, and evolve your approach to spend your time and energy doing more of what's working and less of what's not working. I think that's another good piece of advice. And ask for mentors, and there's no shortage of people out there that are willing to help if you just ask. So ask them about
very true.
What they did, and probably the listeners are here because they want to hear about what other people are doing, right? And so that's
exactly.
a good thing as well.
Well, you're obviously doing a lot of right things, and great advice that you've given us today. If someone were interested in finding out more about your company, what's your website?
It's Prineta.com, Prineta.com.
Okay, so
short,
Prineta.com.
7 letters.
It is. It's very short.
That was
so
hard
Prineta.com.
to find a domain. we had to make
really?
that up in order to find that. Yeah, we took 2 Latin words, and it didn't really make a real Latin word, but there was the prefix and the suffix, and in order to find one that would look like it made somewhat sense to be readable and wasn't already taken. And
so what are the 2 Latin words?
So PRI is a prefix for like primary, and first, that kind of thing. And then Neta was I don't remember exactly, but something about a network, right? And so that they kind of made sense to go together a little bit for us.
Well, there you have it, Prineta.com. Jason, it's been wonderful having you on the show today. We've enjoyed it. It's been fun getting to know you. And stay in touch, okay?
Absolutely, will do. Thanks again. Appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. And if you'd like to learn more about how to grow your company, please visit our website at ithinkbigger.com. Follow us on Facebook, Thinking Bigger Business Media, or on Twitter at ithinkbigger. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.